It's a fight for the gavel, like none other in American history.
You understand that puts you in the crosshairs.
But which political party will take control over a narrowly divided Congress come next year?
Whether we take back the House or not could rest in New York, and New York sets the tone for this election.
It all could come down to your vote, right here at home.
That the House majority, it runs through New York this year.
Both sides pouring tens of millions of dollars into 7 crucial battlegrounds, mainly across the Hudson Valley and Long Island.
New York will be the deciding factor.
Where districts tint purple.
It's a district of folks who are moderate folks.
And candidates disagree over whether the current plans to tackle issues like crime, immigration, and the economy are on the right track.
We're on the right side of the issues.
Today, we'll explore the local districts playing an outsized role in the national political landscape.
I want to be proud of having stood up for our democracy.
One train stop at a time. So hop on board now for the special edition of Power and Politics, Tracking the House.
I'm senior reporter Tara Rosenblum, and today my colleagues and I on the News 12 political team are going to take you along for a ride throughout the Empire State and far beyond, where the Democrats have faced an especially bumpy ride ever since a red wave swept this deep blue state 2 years ago. That's when the Republicans managed to flip 4 swing seats in crucial midterm victories that helped lock in the GOP House majority down in Washington. But alas, that's all in the rearview mirror. So my colleagues and I today are going to take you along for a journey behind the scenes of the hard-fought fight for the current control of Congress. We begin with a race just north of New York City in the suburbs that has literally been described as one of the most competitive battlegrounds in the United States. New York 17 encompasses Rockland and Putnam and parts of Westchester and Dutchess, and both the candidates are familiar names with national name recognition. When Republican Mike Lawler ousted the powerful DCCC campaign chair Sean Patrick Maloney from office in 2022 by a margin of less than 1%, he delivered a crucial victory to his party that helped tip the balance of power in Washington. But now the freshman congressman is entrenched in one of the most intense re-election fights in the country.
New York will be the deciding factor.
Lawler told me he is bullish on his chances thanks in part to his work across the aisle.
We've secured over $38 million for the district for critical infrastructure projects.
Still, the Democrats think the Rockland Republican is vulnerable, and they're spending millions of dollars backing his challenger, former Congressman Mondaire Jones.
I'm proud to be the only pro-democracy candidate in this race.
Who you'll recall used to represent the district in 2020. That is, until the redistricting fiasco derailed his political calculus, and Jones decided to switch routes, making a run for another seat in New York City that he ultimately lost to Democrat Dan Goldman. Jones acknowledges the race is tight, but he believes Kamala Harris's presence at the top of the ticket will provide swing seat down ballot candidates like him a big boost.
There has been a vibe shift. People are enthusiastic.
It's also the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade.
My opponent cheered the overturning of Roe v. Wade. His position is that people should be allowed to ban abortion.
I do not support a federal ban on abortion, and I have fought to protect access to IVF and contraception.
The Israel-Hamas war is another front-of-mind issue due to the sizable Jewish population in the district.
I am so staunchly in support of Israel's right to defend itself.
I have been very loud and vocal in my support of Israel and combating anti-Semitism here in America.
As we head on over to Long Island now, the political landscape changes, the voters change, but the train keeps right on moving, right to our next stop at Rockville Center. This is the heart of New York's 4th Congressional District, and it's where we connect with our colleague News 12's Rich Barabi, who is here to bring us up to speed on another crucial battleground. Rich.
Welcome to Rockville Center, Tara. This is the 4th Congressional District, and 2 years ago, Anthony D'Esposito became the first Republican in 25 years to win this seat. To do it again, though, he'll have to defeat a familiar opponent. It's a rivalry that dates back years.
We are doing this because it is your money, and we believe it should be in your pocket.
It was all political theater to tie me up the night before the election, and it's really childish, actually.
Then Hempstead Town Supervisor Laura Gillen, the first Democrat elected to the position in over 100 years, sparring with the Republican-controlled town board, and then Councilman Anthony D'Esposito.
I hope you'll come out and vote for me.
This is the year.
Fast forward to 2022, and indeed it was the year for D'Esposito, who defeated Gillen in a race for an open seat in Congress, the first Republican to win here in more than a quarter century. Now it's a rematch. Millions of dollars worth of ads from both sides are bombarding residents.
Laura Gillen was supported by the same radicals who backed cashless bail.
D'Esposito let slip he would vote to ban abortion nationwide.
And the two candidates sparring in person at our News 12 Vote 2024 debate.
How many women dying are you okay with, Anthony D'Esposito?
I have never and will never vote for legislation to restrict abortion access.
A possible tipping point, the bombshell report from the New York Times suggesting that Congressman D'Esposito had an affair and put his mistress and his fiance's daughter on his congressional payroll.
Absolutely not. My hiring practices were done above board, and there was absolutely zero ethics violated in any of my decisions.
The House ethics rules say members of Congress may not engage in a sexual relationship with any employee of the House who works under that member. Are you saying right now that this does not apply to you?
I am well aware, and absolutely it does not apply to me.
From one heated contest to another, this one taking place in the 1st Congressional District.
Yeah, Republican Nick LaLota facing a heated challenge from former CNN anchor John Avlon.
This is the most consequential election of our lifetimes.
This is indeed the most important election of our lifetime.
The stakes are high and the back and forth comes fast and furious in the race between Republican Congressman Nick LaLota and Democratic challenger John Avlon.
John Avlon's a marketing man. He's been on CNN for the last 6 years. He'll say anything if he thinks somebody might just believe it.
He's a lifelong patronage politician. He's pretended to be a common sense Republican and talking about how he's bipartisan. The record doesn't fit the rhetoric.
LaLota was first elected 2 years ago, riding high on a red wave that swept across Long Island's congressional races. He says he's delivered the goods for Suffolk residents during tough economic times.
I've passed more bills than 95% of Congress. I'm ranked more bipartisan than 85% of Congress, and I brought home $150 million for Long Island, helping infrastructure, water quality, jobs here on Long Island.
But Avlon accuses LaLota of towing the MAGA line and says he'll be a leading centrist voice on issues like the economy, abortion, and the border.
I'm a man of the vital center and always have been. We're going to win by winning over independents and even some Republicans. I don't dislike Republicans. I'm married to one.
The latest round of redistricting made this district more favorable to the GOP. But Hofstra University's Larry Levy says Avlon has positioned himself to have a chance.
It's still a race that the Republicans are probably in the lead right now. But Avlon's actions, his fundraising, his footwork on the ground, so to speak, has made this a race that's competitive.
Rich, I know we've got a lot more ground to cover here on Long Island, but I want to take a quick detour all the way back to the Hudson Valley.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, we're heading back because there's another high-stakes race there that could dramatically alter our political landscape.
That's the 18th Congressional District, which covers parts of Orange, Ulster, and Dutchess County.
And Rich, the freshman Democrat there, is in a really tough re-election battle.
With control of Congress now up for grabs,
this is a district that is very much in play.
the race for NY18 has become a make-or-break battleground.
Well, I think there's a lot at stake.
Freshman Democrat and Iraqi war veteran Pat Ryan is fighting to defend his seat against NYPD veteran Allison Esposito, and he likes his chances, especially with Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket.
Since then, we've certainly seen a renewed positivity and very clear stark contrast now between one candidate who has said he wants to be a dictator on day one versus another candidate who's forward-looking, optimistic.
I think that Americans are sick and tired of the Biden-Harris administration and the way that they have been leading America.
Esposito launched her candidacy after running in a statewide race for lieutenant governor alongside Lee Zeldin. They won this district but lost the overall race after staging a campaign that Republicans say set the stage for all those crucial GOP House victories. But now, New York Democrats are fighting hard to take back the suburbs and the House. And to do that, they need Ryan to win re-election in a bellwether district that includes all of Orange and most of Dutchess and Ulster counties, where topics like immigration and inflation weigh heavy.
Having served 27 months in combat myself, I certainly know what it means to secure a border.
We have victims of crimes due to this migrant crisis.
Abortion rights is also front and center as we head closer to Election Day.
Abortion rights, we know, are at risk not just nationally, but in New York.
And they're using abortion as a talking point because they think the voters are fools, but the women of New York know that their rights are codified.
All right, Rich, so 2 down and still 4 more adventures await us here in New York before we head on over to Connecticut and New Jersey.
Tracking the House, we'll be right back.
Stay with us.
As Election Day rolls into view, the Vote 2024 battleground is full of bumpy terrain for both sides.
It's one of the most competitive districts in the whole country.
I will always speak on behalf of the people I represent.
In a deep blue state that could chart a new course for our nation's capital.
Do we want to keep having the same status quo of the past, or do we look to solutions for our future?
If they want to change, they have to support somebody who represents that change. That's me.
Welcome back to this special edition of Power and Politics, Tracking the House. I'm Tara Rosenblum.
And I'm Rich Barabi. We are on the move once again, this time on the North Shore of Long Island, in a district that stretches all the way from northern Queens to parts of Suffolk County. It also features an incumbent that's trying to win a second race this year. They say the campaign never stops when you're in Congress.
Swazi, Swazi, Swazi.
And that certainly rings true this year for Congressman Tom Suozzi. In February, the Democrat from Glen Cove defeated his Republican opponent in a special election to replace expelled GOP Congressman George Santos. Now Suozzi is running again to win the seat for a full 2-year term.
You know me. You know I'm going to fight for you. You know I'm going to work across party lines and try and stress getting things done on the border, on the immigration issues, on public safety, on trying to reduce the cost of living, on trying to get the state and local tax deduction back.
Suozzi's opponent this time is former state lawmaker Mike LaPetri. The Republican from Farmingdale was just 28 when he was first elected to the state assembly.
I just wanted to say hello and introduce myself. I'm Mike LaPetri. I'm the Republican nominee for Congress and former state assemblyman. Just saying hello. There we go. How's it going with everything?
LaPetri holds the GOP line on issues like border security. He says he supports a policy of mass deportation, but he surprised even his opponent during our debate when he broke with many Republicans on the issue of abortion.
Do you support codifying Roe versus Wade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I am pro-choice. I support your right to choose. And for me, I will not take that away.
Political consultant Mike DeWidziak says in a race that features 2 talented candidates, the district's newly drawn lines could come into play.
Remember, the Democrats gerrymandered the seat once again this year, and to the help of Suozzi to make it even a little bit of a better district for a Democrat. So it's an uphill battle for LaPetri, but he could make that race competitive.
Do we want to keep having the same status quo of the past, or do we look to solutions for our future?
If they want to change, they have to support somebody who represents that change. That's me. I don't fall into that partisan extremist talk.
Well, Tara, before we move on well beyond Long Island and the Hudson Valley, let's take a look at a true toss-up district. This one's upstate.
That's right. NY19 is what we're talking about, and it has swayed back and forth the last few presidential election cycles.
NY19 is a sprawling congressional district upstate that covers 11 counties and stretches from the Massachusetts border all the way to Ithaca.
It is a beautiful district.
I believe it's the most beautiful congressional district in the country.
But that's about the only thing the candidates in this mega-tight rematch agree on.
The people of upstate New York, they want their voices heard.
In 2022, former Dutchess County executive and gubernatorial candidate Mark Molinaro beat Ithaca attorney Josh Riley by just under 2 percentage points, adding the title of GOP congressman to his resume.
I've worked hard these last 2 years to give voice to the people of this district.
But now, 2 years later, his former rival is back and wants to unseat him.
The biggest difference from the last race to this one is that my opponent now has a voting record to run on. And
if elected to serve a second term, Congressman Molinaro says his focus will be on pocketbook issues like inflation and public safety concerns stemming from the border crisis.
Let me be clear. Josh Riley spent the last 20 years advocating for mass amnesty.
He decided to leave the border open so that he could exploit the problem for political gain.
While Riley has made reproductive rights the centerpiece of his campaign and his first political ad back in the summer.
Mark Molinaro is a 30-year career politician who has opposed Roe v. Wade at every single turn.
Josh Riley is lying about my record and my belief. I said that I would oppose a national abortion ban, and I did.
National observers pointing to their race as one of the most important battles of Vote 2024, since the outcome has the potential to tip the balance of power in Congress.
It's one of the most competitive districts in the whole country.
I will always speak on behalf of the people I represent.
And Rich, so many local races with national implications for Vote 2024.
And with the stakes so high, you can only imagine the amount of work that the party leaders have between now and Election Day.
That's right, and the pressure is especially on for New York Governor Kathy Hochul, who took a lot of heat after the 2022 midterms when the Republicans picked up those 4 seats. Nancy Pelosi even threw some shade her way this summer, blaming the governor's own narrow election victory for the down-the-ballot losses that caused their party to lose the majority. So now Hochul is really trying to prove her wrong, moving full steam forward with a coordinated turnout campaign with other party leaders like Hakeem Jeffries
to deliver a major boost to the candidates in those 7 swing districts we've outlined for you.
The resources behind this operation, we're told, unprecedented. They have something like 40 campaign offices, typically the type of resources we'd only see during a presidential campaign. I caught up one-on-one with Governor Hochul this summer at the Democratic National Convention. She gave me a preview of their messaging.
That we have a winning team, but also a winning message. That we're going to create the opportunity economy to lift everyone up and leave no one behind, and to make sure that we make up for a lot of lost time in past years. Help people that are struggling, families that are having a hard time making ends meet, taking care of childcare.
But the Democrats' push to flip seats that went red won't be a smooth ride, that's for sure. National Republicans tell us they too are pouring millions into the swing races, and they feel momentum is on their side.
We're going into an election cycle where everything is on the line for the direction of our country. We can't afford to lose the people that are actually in the fight with us. The Republican Party's always stood for law enforcement, for our men and women in uniform, for law and order, rule of law. And that's what we're going to continue to do. And I think that's why we've been winning in so many places, like in Long Island. And I think we're going to win in even more places this year.
Still ahead, we'll check in on the competitive races playing out in New Jersey and Connecticut.
That's still ahead. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Tracking the House. I'm Eric Lanskroner at the Pass Station in Hoboken. As Tara and Rich have told you, New York could play a pivotal role in determining control of Congress. But the path to power also runs through New Jersey and Connecticut.
For our first stop, we take a swing through the 7th, New Jersey's swing district, which includes parts of Union, Somerset, Morris, and Sussex, and all of Hunterdon and Warren counties. A moderate battleground which has seesawed from Republican to Democrat and back again since 2018. This cycle, it's a race between incumbent Republican and freshman Congressman Tom Kean Jr. and progressive activist Sue Altman, who just appeared on Power and Politics. She accuses him of being a MAGA enabler and of ducking the press.
He does not take any interviews with the press. He dodges reporters' questions, and he doesn't hold town halls. And so he's been really invisible.
The congressman has been grabbing headlines for avoiding the press altogether lately. A national GOP super PAC doing the talking for him.
Higher taxes, fewer cops, more deadly drugs. That's radical Sue Altman.
Worth noting, this was a district President Biden won 4 years ago. Still, Cook Political Report considers Kaine the favorite in this race, and The Hill is projecting he'll win re-election. Heading north to Connecticut, and a rematch garnering national attention in the 5th District, which spans parts of Fairfield, Litchfield, New Haven, and Hartford counties. Republican former state Senator George Logan taking another swing at unseating 3-term Democratic Congresswoman Jahana Hayes.
The economy is a big top issue. I hear a lot about our democracy, about women's reproductive health, about education.
Folks are going to make, I believe, the decisions on pocketbook issues. When you take a look at the last couple years since the last election, everything is more expensive, and I believe it's due to reckless government spending. And my opponent has only supported those policies coming out of the White House.
So how close could this race be? Give you an idea. Hayes won by a razor-thin margin of less than a percentage point back in 2022. Bottom line here, Congress is at a crossroads right now, and the tri-state is at the center of it all.
It absolutely is. Now, as for our next stop, well, that's the destination unknown that only you can decide.
What we do know is that if you want your voice heard, you have to vote. And that we have you covered here on News 12, News12.com, even streaming on News 12 New York. Extra coverage on our News 12 YouTube page.
This is Tracking the House. Thanks for joining us for the special edition of Power in Politics. We'll see you on election night because, of course, local elections lead to national change.